Okay, we've already been talking about it during the commercial break. This is really, a lot of women out there know the Real Housewives franchise on Bravo. It's a hugely popular show and franchise. And just yesterday, Teresa Giudice, one of the stars of that franchise, and her husband Joe. Okay, we've already been talking about it during the commercial break. This is really, a lot of women out there know the Real Housewives franchise on Bravo. It's a hugely popular show and franchise. And just yesterday, Teresa Giudice, one of the stars of that franchise, and her husband Joe were sentenced. They are now headed to prison for fraud. It had Twitter, it had Facebook lighting up yesterday. We brought in attorney Daliah Saper this morning to talk to us about this case. So first I want to start with, these Real Housewives franchises, these women are known for living these lives of luxury, multi-million dollar homes and, these really opulent lives. And the heart of this case was all about money, right?
Absolutely. Well, it takes a lot of money to live an opulent life,
yeah.
And Teresa and Joe were no exception. There's episodes where they're spending $300,000 in one swoop to buy furniture. And all that money, of course, was procured from fraudulent activity, lying to banks to get loans, filing for bankruptcy to hide the assets once they had them, lying in the bankruptcy about what types of assets they have, not paying taxes. The list is really long.
And I want to talk about the sentencing here. So she was sentenced to 15 months. He was sentenced to 41 months. Now, the judge did stagger it, meaning he won't have to go to prison until after she has served her time. But when we hear those numbers, it often isn't the actual amount of time that they end up spending in prison. How much time could she spend behind bars?
I think that she'll probably serve the majority of the time, if not
really?
all. What they were facing was up to 35 years to 50 years if you aggregate all of the different counts that they were indicted with. Ultimately, they plead, and the suggested timeline was maybe up to 47 months.
Right.
She gave Joe 41, or in Teresa's case, at least 27 months. So in light of the spectrum of what they could have received, certainly it wasn't the lowest, but it was nowhere near the highest either.
Now, I want to talk about the fact that they are celebrities. I mean, it was a complete melee outside the courthouse of cameramen, photographers, media, watching them go into and out of the sentencing hearing yesterday. How did being celebrities affect them in this case?
Well, it's interesting because I certainly think they do want to make an example out of them because of their publicity and the publicity they do garner.
Right.
But I don't think it matters because at the end of the day, the list of things they did was so egregious that whether they were Joe Schmo on the street or the Giudices, I'm not sure the sentencing would be that different.
And the judge sounded very angry. I mean, in her even reading of the sentences, she said, look, you're both still lying. Even when you had to hand in the documentation of what your assets are, you still hid things. Even just a month before sentencing, they were hiding things from the court. And that really ticked off the judge.
I mean, she compared their behavior to what they did during the bankruptcy proceeding. It seems like they're not learning their lesson.
Yeah.
The only reason I think there was even some leniency is because the couple has 4 young daughters.
Right.
And they played we're good parents, we didn't mean to do this, and so for the sake of the children, I think she probably was a little bit more lenient than she otherwise would have been.
Very quickly before we have to go, Joe is not an American citizen.
Yeah.
Does this mean deportation when he gets out?
U.S. immigration officials will make that determination after he serves his sentence.
Okay, Daliah Saper, thank you so much
You're
for coming
welcome.
in this morning. It's a story that's got everyone talking.